Good afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. It's the middle of the week, Wednesday. It's a very slow day with regards to trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We will be giving you an update on what the top trades are over the day, as well as what happened yesterday and what was the closure of the market with regards to the indices, the top traded stocks, as well as market turnover. Over and above that, as always, we will be giving you an update on corporate and macroeconomic news that you need to pay attention to. At the forefront of this, we have IMF coming out with a report that has revised down the economic growth outlook for Kenya for the next fiscal year. We'll be giving you an update on that and the considerations around that. Over and above that, in the telecom space, we have seen an outage with regards to SMS and call services from Airtel. We'll give you a wrap about of that and what impact it has for the users, and more importantly, is it a consideration or a key risk factor when you're looking at the capacity within the telecom sector. For our main section today and our main conversation, we continue to look at the element of debt. Recall that Kenya has reviewed the terms of debt at a national level. Previously, the Public Finance Management Act 2015 had put a ceiling of 50% of debt as a comparative to the gross domestic product, that is the GDP. This has now been removed and been replaced with an absolute number, 9 trillion shillings. Question is, do we amass this level in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years? What does it mean for the macros of this country? What does that mean for the impact on inflation, on foreign currency, on interest rates, as well as GDP growth? To help us with this conversation, we are hosting Mr. David Gitau. David Gitau is a senior analyst, or rather he is an analyst focusing on fixed income and the macro economy at Saiton Investments. That's a conversation that we will have later on. As always, we are engaging and we are streaming live on our Twitter handle, as well as our YouTube page and our Facebook page, and that is Metropole TV. What do you want to know with regards to the impact of this new ceiling, debt ceiling on the economy? And more importantly, what are the key risk factors that you foresee, whether you're running a business or you have your investments in different asset classes? Why won't you engage with us on Twitter? Now, let's go back to what is happening on the NSE as well as an update on the macro news. Yesterday, the Nairobi Securities Exchange saw a bit of a downturn with regards to the volumes that were traded. 46% downward trend compared to Monday what it traded. There was 76 million worth of turnover that was traded yesterday. It doesn't look any rosier today. As we were coming onto the show, only 1.35 million shares had been traded in Safaricom, followed by 957,000 shares traded in Barclays. Looks like we'll be slightly lower, the 76 million mark. Now, this was expected, and we have seen a downward and a bearish trend on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and we also allude to the element that the review of the debt ceiling for the Kenyan government has certainly sent jitters, especially to the foreign investors. They have been the majority of the participants on the stock exchange, and we continue to see slight sell-offs on the stock exchange in some counters, a bit of sell-offs in the banking sector, but for Safaricom, it remains neutral as at this point in time. If you missed our show yesterday, we hope you can catch it. There's still a replay of this. It is important because we were looking at the impact of debt on the particular stocks on the NSE. We did allude to the element that the banking stocks would potentially be the biggest beneficiaries if there's a huge jump with regards to the increment of debt. If we move from 5.9 trillion to 7 trillion in 1 year, we do expect a 50-50 split between allocation of debt to the domestic market as well as the foreign market. Now, in an economy that borrows about 300 billion from the domestic market, if this were to double, we can attest to the element that treasury banks or treasury departments in the banks will certainly not be lending to the common 190 at 13%, but will instead prefer to extend this same credit to the government of Kenya, staving off a credit consumer trend that we have seen build the economy of Kenya. In other words, expect to see some benefits on the banking sector and telco stocks, but anything that is not in this particular stocks expect some downside with regards to volatility in earnings. Speaking on, or rather remaining on the telecom sector, we have seen Airtel come out today and indicate to its consumers that it has had or experienced a shortage with regards to its capacity to extend call services as well as SMS services. There has been a network outage from this morning, and Airtel has come out and said that they are trying to correct this. But then the question is there an issue of capacity as well as quality of services provided by the telcos in Kenya? We have seen similar complaints, but not to a large extent from Safaricom users. Very minor extent there. But for Airtel, the entire network coming under scrutiny today, that's certainly a risk factor, and especially ahead of a potential, not potential, of a yet to be confirmed and concluded merger with Telkom Kenya. Now, the quality of service has been something that the Communication Authority of Kenya has been looking at, and also going to the extent of penalizing the telcos if the quality of service is not at par. Now, the key thing that we are looking out for is in the year 2020, we do expect the Communication Authority to come to the market, whether local or global, and look for another carrier to come into the market to offer 5G services, or in other words, they will be auctioning another universal license. Now, the question is, are the current operators more than or capable of being able to provide the appropriate quality of services as per the CAK or not? What has happened to Airtel is certainly a telltale sign, and we will be keeping tabs to see what happens there. The fact that the Safaricom network has more stability and is quite more robust remains a positive for this particular telecom company, and certainly alludes to the element of investor interest on this particular stock. Moving on to macros, the IMF has come out with a report this week on the global economic outlook. It does expect a slowdown. With regards to its outlook on Kenya, it has slowed down its growth to 5.6% this year compared to what it expected, which was 5.8%. Now, 5.6 is more or less in line with the latest statistics that we have had. First quarter grew 5.6%, and this is from the data that was released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The second quarter also grew 5.6%. So you have the first half of the year, 5.6%. It's only natural to expect and extrapolate this figure to expect a similar performance in the second half of the year. So 5.6% is the key number that we are looking at. We will take a short break to give you an overview with regards to the daily commodity prices. When we come back, we are looking at the impact of the 9 trillion debt ceiling that we have now. When will we achieve this? What are the risk factors or opportunistic factors to consider? And more importantly, what does this portend for the macroeconomy? And the key parameters we want to look at least is the impact on foreign currency, the exchange rate to the key currencies out there, especially the dollar, the impact on interest rates, as well as the impact on inflation. Now, we'll also be looking at the impact as well on GDP growth. So is this a fiscal policy stance that the government is pushing in a bid to actually enhance aggregate demand, or is there something underlying that we may be missing, and what does it mean for your other investments? We'll be looking at this, and as well as doing a recap of what the IMF has said and whether it's of significance. Was it expected? Was it not expected? To help us with this conversation, we are hosting Mr. David Gitau, who's an analyst in the fixed income and macroeconomics department at Citon. As always, talk to somebody, engage with us, and tell everybody around you that you can catch us live on Twitter. We want to hear your thoughts. Talk to us and see you soon.